Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi Maseches CHULLIN Daf Tezayin. We are holding on the second line off the top. Amar Mar, going back to review the halacha in the Brisa. Shoichet b'muchni. Muchni is a wheel with a knife inserted, and by spinning the wheel, he does a shchita on the animal. Shchita sekshera, it works. It's okay, vatanya. But what about the other Brisa, which says shechita psula? Doing shchita in this manner, using this wheel knife, doesn't work. Akasha answers like this: Ha besarna de pachra. The Brisa which says that it's okay, that's where human energy is involved. It's a direct human act. It's a wheel of pachra. Pachra is cheres, earthenware. So the earthenware maker, the pottery maker, has this wheel. Right? You see these pictures. This wheel, and he has this blob of whatever, this clay, right? And that wheel, it's like sort of a plate which spins around and around, and it's done manually. There's some sort of feet pedals underneath it, which by moving them around, the thing spins around and around. So the thing is spinning, but not naturally. It's spinning by way of his intervention, by his input. So this type of wheel, this type of spinning wheel, can be used for shechita because it's being done by means of human energy, human doing, which is a precondition for shechita, as opposed to the other brisa which says no good. Ha besarna, we're talking about a wheel which is being spun by way of water, the maya, like a water mill, right? So there's no koyach of a person involved, in which case it's possible. The Gemara later learns from the pasuk v'zavachta Rabbi Ochalta masha ata zavech ata oichal. It has to be the human who's doing shechita over the animal, right? It's almost like you can say the animal was given to the control of the humans. Eibishter, granted the humans that power, that koyach, right, to shech the animal and consume them. So the shechita has to be an expression of human activity, but not it's just a water, a thing spinning by way of water. Another way to answer the apparent contradiction. Both prices, the one that says it's kosher, the one that says shechita with a spinning wheel is possible, are both speaking if they're being spun by the water. The kasha answers like this: depends how direct it is. So basically there's a little dam there, and the way it works is that when the person removes the dam, opens that little door, the water channels down into the wheel and makes it spin. So it depends how direct it was, how immediate it was. If the water went straight to the wheel, and the wheel on its first spin did the shechita, that's direct enough, considered human doing, human act, and it's considered a proper shechita. The other Brisa is speaking that it happened afterwards. It happened after the first, spin. So that sort of secondary energy is no longer considered direct doing of the person, and is not kosher for shechita. As we find in a similar halacha, which differentiates between koyach rishon and koyach sheni, the initial spurt and the eventual sort of a secondary result. V'chiha the Amar Papa, as Papa teaches us, Haiman the kapse lachavri. Chas v'shalom, a person ties down Shimon over near the dam, near the water. V'ashkel alei bitka demaya, and he pulls out the dam, pulls out the blocker of that water, and the water goes down, gushes on him, and he dies. He is chayev. Now we know that for ritzicha, it has to be direct. It can't just be causation. In this case, it's called direct. Why? My time, you know why? Girei didei. Girei are arrows. It's his arrows. It's like an arrow. It's not directly the person. It's his arrow, but it's a direct doing. What caused this effect? What was a honey-bay? What caused this effect? What brought about this result? His direct doing. It's like his arrows. So that first gush of water is considered like his arrow. It's only true when it's the initial gush. But if it's a secondary effect, so if the person was situated at a distance and he opens the water and starts flowing down, eventually it's the person. That's just a grama ba'alma. It's causation. Grama ba'alma. It's merely grama. In which case, there's no chi of misa for this ritzeach. Okay, it's interesting. We have this distinction between koyach rishon and koyach sheni that pertains to ritzicha and to shchita. Koyach rishon is considered direct doing of the person as opposed to koyach sheni. Yosef Rav. Okay, let's go back to the halacha of a knife which is attached to the ground. A sharp object which is in the ground. Can it be used for shchita? So according to Rabbi, according to Shitas Rabbi, it was possible. We learned this yesterday, it's possible. Today we're going to have the pasuk for that. According to Rabbi, it was okay. Not l'chatchila, but it's not. Yosef Rav. So Rav was sitting acharei behind Rabbi Chia. And Rabbi Chia came the Rebbe was sitting in front of Rabbi. Yosef Rebbe become a Rebbe was sitting and relating the halacha. And the source of minayin l'shchita she bitalish. How do we know that shchita has to be specifically with something which is detached, a knife, etc. Shnema we have by the pasuk. We have Avraham Avinu was going to do a kedes yitzchak v'yikach samachelas l'shchita b'noyim. So he took the machel, he took the knife. We're talking about something that's detached, a utensil. Amalei Rav. Rabbi Chia. So Rab asked Rabbi Chia, Mike Amar, what was Rabbi saying? Where did he see this in the pasuk? He wasn't clear on Amalei. So Rabbi Chia, as we know, was actually in disagreement with Rabbi. He held that it's not critical, so he responded with sort of like a dismissive term, Vav. The chsiv, it's like a letter Vav, which is attempted to be written on a ufsa, on a block of wood, which is undiscernible because the wood has so many lines and stripes and bumps and ridges. Ka'amar, he's merely saying that type of source, meaning it's incorrect what he's saying. Because Rabbi Chia, again, disagreed with Rabbi, he held that it wasn't ma'akiv to use it wasn't critical. You don't have to use a knife, right? So he didn't agree with this whole source. In any case, Valkro Ka'amar, but the question is, Rabbi did have a source, he had a pasuk, which speaks about a knife, which is something detached. The answer is, according to Rabbi Chia, there was no raya, there was no thing, you can't prove from this pasuk, because the pasuk, although it spoke about a knife, that was a special circumstance. Avraham Avinu came prepared, leaving nothing for chance, right? He came prepared. There's reasons, the excitement, the preparedness. The Avraham Avinu kamashmon. That's what the pasuk is teaching us. But it's not to say that generally you have to have something like a knife. You can even use something like a stone on the ground, even attached to the ground. So Avraham Avinu was concerned perhaps he won't find something like that, so he brought along a knife, but really it's not critical. In fact, we find in Farshim that the highlight, or the more than that, the essence of Akedas Yitzchak was the zrizas, was the attitude, was the excitement, was the frame of mind, the frame of heart, the dedication. It wasn't so much that he prepared to do the act itself, because who wouldn't do it? I mean, imagine Hashem comes to you and says, Mechel ben Yankel, go shecht. Hashem Allah himself. Of course you do it, no questions asked. But happily, excitedly, with love, right? With zrizas, that was the chiddush of Avraham Avinu, the great Avos, who had that inner consistency. He was so dedicated and davak to Hashem. So just the Avram Kamashmalan. That's what we live off for years and years. Akedas Yitzchak is this reasons. The Avos Hashem expressed in that act. Okay, so we speak about the knife, which according to Rebbe has to be off the ground. According to Rebbe, even attached is okay. What about something which is somewhat attached? It was detached, and then he attached it. You had a stone or something, and now it's in the wall. Now it's right. What status does that have? Do we treat it like something detached, talosh, or since it's now in the ground, perhaps it has a status of mechuber, of connected, amarava pshitali. So it depends for what. This can have all kinds of manifestations. It can have applications regarding Avodah Zarah. We know that, if one serves an idol, the idol becomes forbidden, asur b'hana, provided it's an item, a talush, but a mountain, something which is mechuber, doesn't get affected by Avodah Zarah. We find all kinds of other halachas that are contingent upon this definition. Talush has one status, mechuber has something else. And finally, back to shchita, which we're discussing today, which according to Rebbe at least, mechuber doesn't work, talush does. The question is, amarava pshitali. So it's clear to me that regarding a talush ulbasoiv chivra, something in between, it had been initially off the ground, now it was attached. What status does it have? So now, regarding Avodah Zarah, where only something talush gets affected and not something mechuber, havi talush. In this case, where it was talush, it's still considered like talush, and therefore it becomes affected. It becomes asur b'hana, forbidden for any personal benefit if it was worshipped. As we find, the halacha mishtach v'lebayis shelo yasari. So we learn the halacha that if a person bows, sort of an expression of worship, right, to his own house, well, these are bricks that were once detached, but now they're attached. Lebayis shelo, now it has to be your house, because otherwise you can't forbid somebody else's house. You can't, affect somebody else's house. So you bow to his own house, asari, now forbade the whole house. It becomes an object of Avodah Zarah, off limits. So clearly, it's considered like detached with respect to Avodah Zarah. We ignore the fact that now it's built in the ground. If you'll tell me that something which had been detached and is now built into the ground is considered like built, it's considered part of the ground, why would it be affected by idol worship? The pasuk says, Eloyehem, their idols, al harim, are situated on the mountains, and the idols have a status of Avodah Zarah and become asur b'Allah, harim Eloyehem, but the mountains itself, even if they're worshipped, do not gain status of idols, don't become affected, don't become asur. So clearly, the reason why the house is asur is because we focus on the initial status, in which case it was talush. Next point, regarding hechsher zroim. What status does it have? So Rashi explains at great length that in order to be machsher something, l'kabel tumah, you have produce, you have an apple, right? Only if it becomes moist, becomes wet, with water that you willed to be there, or you willed it for some sort of use. It was sort of mentally designated for some sort of use. And when we speak about use, it means to be used for something which is like a utensil, to wash something, to clean something, right? Not to serve something which is mechuber. So water, which had been designated for that purpose, now has the power to be machsher, which means that if it lands on an apple, the apple becomes wet with that water. Which was meant to serve something off the ground, which was meant to wash dishes or something like that. So now that water has the ability to be machsher l'kabel tumah. Now the apple is susceptible to further tumah. If something touches it, tumah touches it, it becomes tumah. So again, the condition is that the water used for this purpose had to have been designated, at least mentally, to serve, to wash, to clean, to rinse something which is talush. As opposed to, let's say it was rinsing a wall, that doesn't count. That water doesn't gain this status, doesn't gain this ability to now be machsher fruit. What about something which was detached and is now attached, and the water is being used for that? So regarding lehini hechsher zroim, tanoi, it's a machlokes tanoi. There's none. There's a wall. He has a bowl. He tips it upside down on the wall, so that the bowl gets rinsed. Okay, so he's washing his dishes. Hareza b'chiyutan. So now this water, which landed on the bowl, now has the ability to be machshir, fruit, l'kabel tumah. The Gemara calls it b'chiyutan because that's the lashon of the pasuk. B'chiyutan mayim, water was placed, was found on the thing. So basically, he was machshir. He gave chashivas. He gave prominence. He gave significance to this water because he willed it for this purpose. He wanted it to rinse his bowl, and the bowl is something detached, tolish. However, if his motive was, the reason why he overturned the bowl so that the wall should not get wet, shouldn't get ruined, to protect the wall from the water, so that water is not b'chiyutan. Because he had no purpose in this water. He wasn't trying to use the water in any way. Now, if we look closely at the wording of the Brisa, actually a Mishnah, it seems to be contradictory. Look, Amris, we begin by saying, B'shvil shatudach harei b'chiyutan. If the purpose was to clean out the bowl, b'chiyutan, yes. Let's infer, let's make a diuk. B'shvil shayudach hakaisel. Suppose the purpose was not to rinse the bowl, rather to rinse the wall, which is mechubar. Ein zeh b'chiyutan. It doesn't have the status of kiyutan because it was serving something in the ground. Because the wall, although it was built, the stones were initially detached, but now it's mechubar, is considered as such. That's from the first part of the Mishnah. Then we proceed with the contrasting case. However, says the Mishnah, his purpose, his motive, was merely to protect the wall. There's no chiyutan. Let's make it dik. Suppose his purpose was to rinse the wall. It is b'chiyutan because the wall considered ever talish. Amar Blaza, you're right. Let's sort of break the Brisa into two. The Brisa has to be split because it's reflective of two opposing views regarding this very question. Talish is talish, fine. Something which was naturally in the ground is naturally mechubar. But regarding talish, which became a mechubar, like this wall, which initially was stones, now turned into a structure, according to the first part of the Mishnah, it's still considered mechubar. Whereas according to the second part of the Mishnah, it's not considered talish. The one who related the first part of the Mishnah, did not teach the second one, meaning there are two separate opinions. And there is the machlekes tanaim that we were talking about before. Rav Papa says no. Rav Papa says kulo chatanu. You can say that the whole Mishnah is really reflective of one shita, one opinion. That we look at the initial state of this material, it was talish, it remains talish. What about the conflicting inferences in the Mishnah? Here we say the water meant to rinse the wall is b'chiyutan. There we say it's not. Well, it depends. If it's a naturally occurring wall or is a built wall. Because of ma'ara. In the Reisha, in the first part of the Mishnah, where we consider the wall to be mechubar, kaisel ma'ara, the wall of a cave. It wasn't built by humans. It was naturally connected. Because the second part of the Mishnah speaking that it was built. That's talish. That became a mechubar. Consider talish. The Mishnah means like this. So you place the bowl on the wall to rinse the bowl. Yeah, surely, of course. Let's make a diuk. Let's make an inference. If his purpose was to rinse the wall, there's no kiyutan. Why? When? How? When is that true? Because when it's a natural wall, like a cave. That's certainly mechubar. But if it was a wall that was built, so that's talish, which became a mechubar. So there, it's different. And only b'shvil shalil ka'koisel, hu de'ene mechiyutan. Only if his agenda was just to protect the wall from the water, then it's not kiyutan, because there's no positive use for that water. But in this case, if his purpose was to rinse the wall, since it was humanly built, it still retained its detached status. It's b'chiyutan. Now comes a question regarding shechita. So we resolved regarding avodah zarah. We resolve regarding hechsher. What about regarding shchita, which according to Rebbe, something which is really mechuber is possible. By Rav, now comes a question. We turn to Talmud Beis. Talosh, shchita mai. So he has a sharp instrument which had been off the ground and then it was attached. Can that be used for shchita? Tashmai. Comes a raya. Hayatzur yotzim nakaisel. Sharp rock protruding from the wall. There's a reed growing out of the ground. Use it for shchita. So it doesn't work. The Gemara understood that the first case of the rock out of the wall, speaking that it was put in there. It wasn't naturally coming out of the wall. So we see that is considered mechubar, and it's possible. Says the Gemara, no. My skin because again, perhaps we're speaking about a naturally occurring wall of a cave. Let's prove that point. Because the Brisa compares the sharp stone to the reed, which is certainly a naturally growing phenomenon, right? The Brisa compares the stone to the naturally growing weed, shmamina. So we can infer that the stone is speaking about a naturally occurring phenomenon. But perhaps if you insert it and now it's attached, you can still use it. Tashmai comes another raya. Not sakan because it was shachat ba. He took a knife, inserted it into the wall, and did shchita. Shtasek sher, you can use it. Apparently, since initially it was detached, it retains that status. Shani sakan le'mevatali. No, it's very different. Very different than a stone, a brick that was put into a wall. That becomes part of the wall, but a knife does not become part of the wall. It's not mevatali. It doesn't nullify to the wall. It stays separate. So in this case, certainly you can understand why it's kosher. It doesn't become parcel of the wall. But in the case of a stone, who says? Tashmai comes another raya. So this we actually had before, and we discussed this to mean that it was something which had been detached and then attached to the ground. Brisa says it's okay. Says the word no. Dilma pirushikum efarish. Perhaps this halacha is not a standalone halacha speaking about this type of case that it was detached and attached. Perhaps the Brisa will explain itself. So after this opening statement, the Brisa then goes on to elaborate. What did I mean when I said attached? Specifically by a knife, which doesn't assume the status of the wall, doesn't become embedded in the wall. Sakat, it's not mavatale, but otherwise, if it's just a stone in the wall, perhaps it becomes part of the wall. It can't be used. So we don't really have a resolution on this question. Amamra. Okay, so let's go back to this question again. To the Brisa, not sakan b'koisel v'shachat bo. So he inserts the knife into the wall, uses it for shchita, shtasek shira, it works. Amar Rabbanan shmolei shanu. We have to be careful not to make the animal a treifa. Don't press down too hard. You got to make sure the angles work out. It's a little bit unwieldy to use a knife in the wall, right? So he says, like, be careful. Shanu, it's only true sakan lamala v'tzavar beim lamata. The knife is above the neck, which is on bottom. So he's basically running the neck beneath the knife, working his way up, which allows him to maneuver it properly and apply just the right amount of pressure to make a proper shchita. Aval, but if it's the other way around, sakan lamata. Okay, picture it. The knife is beneath the neck, facing upward, but it's beneath the neck. But savar beim lamala, the neck is above it, and he's running the animal over the knife. It's a little bit hard to maneuver properly because of the gravity, because of the weight of the animal. And there's a concern, Shema Yudrais. You might come down too hard and press down too hard and make it possible. So you can't do that. Says the Murvaktani, but we have a Brisa which doesn't differentiate between knife on top and knife on bottom. Right? It says you can do it any way you want, right? Ben shasakan lamato, v'tzavar beim lamalo. The knife is on bottom. Neck is on top, or vice versa. It's like we're not concerned about what's on top and what's on bottom. Or zvid, it's something katani. The Brisa there is discussing two different circumstances. So this is back at Aftazova base, right? The Brisa says you can use something on the ground, something off the ground, neck on top, neck on bottom. It says Rav Zvid, there are two parts to the Brisa. It depends. If the knife is attached, is mechubar, then it only works if the knife is on bottom. If the knife is off the ground, just a regular knife, which allows for much easier maneuvering, in this case we're not going to differentiate. We're not going to be specific and be particular in terms of what's on top and what's on bottom. Oh, and he explains, Saka lamata, v'tzav b'em lamala, b'tolish. When the Brisa allows the knife to be below the neck, that's when the knife is just a regular knife. Tolish. As opposed to Saka lamala, v'tzav b'em lamata, b'mechubar. The Brisa speaks about the knife on top and the animal on bottom. That is even by a mechubar. But by mechubar, you shouldn't do it with a knife on bottom and the animal on top. Rapapa Amar ba'if the kol. So there's another teretz. He says, sure, the Brisa is speaking whether it's mechubar, whether it's talish, and position is irrelevant. You know why? Ba'if, we're talking about a bird which is light, kolel. There's no issue of gravity and pressure, in which case, either way is okay. Amar b'chizda. Amar b'yitzchak. Amar lo, some say masisa tan in the Brisa we learn as follows. Keep away from this reed, which tends to splinter. It can get you into trouble. Chamisha dvarim nemar b'kreimis. There are 5 discussions regarding a reed, a piece of a shalkana, a piece of a reed, like a bamboo. Ein sheichten ba. One should not do shchita with it, because it tends to splinter. And if they splinter, then you'll have pieces all over the neck, and it can puncture it, and it's not going to be a smooth, clean cut. It can make it a treifa. Ve'in malamba. Same reason you shouldn't do mila. Ve'in mechatchem abasa, nor use it to cut meat. Splinters might end up being embedded in the meat, and it could be dangerous to the person eating it. Ve'in mechatzem b'shenayim, nor should be used to as a toothpick. Ve'in mekanachem ba, nor to clean oneself in the washroom. Then more explains. Ein sheichten ba. Okay, so you can't use it for shchita, vatanya. In the Brisa we learn that it's perfectly acceptable. But kol sheichten, you can use any utensil for shchita. Ve'in betzur, whether it's a rock, ve'in mischuchas, piece of glass, ve'in krem shalkana, piece of a reed. We're not speaking about a bamboo which can splinter, but simoina, some type of plant, some type of grass, the agon grows out in the swamp, and so there's no splintering, there's no issue. Furthermore, you should not use it to cut meat. Papa will use it to slice fish intestines. Why? The zige, because they're clear, they're transparent. You'll see if there are any splinters embedded in them. You can see. He'd use it to cut fowl. The rakech, because since it's has soft flesh, it's not going to exert pressure on the reed, and it's not going to splinter. One more, you shouldn't use it. One should not clean himself with it. Typically, says the Gemara, aside from the issue of the splintering, which can endanger a person, there's a more spiritual issue here as well. Typically, there should be a concern. We learned that if one uses an item which is easily consumed by fire, it's flammable item, there's a concern about kishuf affecting this person. Shinav noishras, actually says the shinava, the taltule basar, the valve area in the body. There's some danger there. Noishras, it can get hurt. It can get injured. So in any case, something flammable is not recommended. So why would we even have to talk about this reed, which is... we're not speaking about washroom, we're talking about kinuach pimaku kamrinan. We're talking about just cleaning up pimaka, some sort of wound. And there could be concern if there are splinters in this material. That's what we're talking about, and that's why one has to take care to use something which is safer than this. Okay, so we'll leave the rest for tomorrow. It's a new sugya with Hashem, and just recap today's daf. So we spoke about the requirement to do shchita with a koyach gaber. Has to be a person's direct act. So if you want to use a wheel, make sure it's a manual wheel as opposed to a water wheel. water wheel is okay if it's Koyach Rishon, if it's happening directly as opposed to with secondary energy. Koyach Sheni. That pertains to Halacha B'Reitzeach as well. Who's only liable to Misa if it was direct doing as opposed to indirect doing. What about using something which is mechuber for shchita? Rebbe says you can't, based on the pasuk Vayikachas Acheles. The opposing shita says, well, that's just an expression of Ravinu's preparedness and his zrizus and his commitment to the cause. Now, if you work with the isser of using something which is mechuber for shchita, what about something which was talush and then became mechuber? Regarding Avodah Zarah, we say it's called talush. Regarding hechsher zrayin, there's machlokes according to one approach. Regarding shchita, we sort of left it unresolved. Well, we do have instruction how to be careful regarding something which is mechuber in terms of positioning the animal on top, animal on bottom. And we spoke about refraining from using a splintery item for various uses, which can, like shchita, mila, etc., in order to protect oneself from danger. All the best to you and atzlach.